Matt Rhule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers have been on an absolute tear during the month of June on the recruiting trail. They've got double-digit commits. They just landed a commitment from tight end Carter Nelson. They have been rolling. So when we talk about Nebraska, I think we need to address what this is going to mean for them in the immediate future, but also in the long term. So for Nebraska, here's one thing you're going to hear people say. Well, that's not really too much better than they used to recruit. Like, they were still kind of in the 20s during the Scott Frost era. Like, they were right around that same range. So some people are saying, well, you're getting the same kind of talent level from a macro perspective, so why should we expect different results? Here's what I would say to that. Just because you have the same ingredients does not mean you're putting them together in the same way. Like, no knock on Scott Frost, but he wasn't putting this talent together the way that Matt Rhule is going to put together this talent. Like, Matt Rhule, his secret sauce, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, it's about development for him. He brings in the 3-star and makes them play at a 4-star level. He brings in the 3-star, and then would you know it, they're playing on Sundays. Like, Matt Rhule is a great evaluator and a great developer of talent. So for Nebraska, just because the talent level is at a similar spot that it was in previous recruiting classes, you can expect different things because of who's doing the developing. And Matt Rhule's track record, I believe, should speak for itself with what he's done at Temple, what he's done at Baylor, and who he has right now playing the NFL. All right? Really quickly, Nebraska fans, make sure you're locked in right here. Now, make sure you're subscribed. We have got a lot to unpack here before we even get to college football season. And y'all know, this sport, it don't take a break. You're watching a video about this in June. We're talking about college football in June. We're probably a little bit psycho for this sport. Would love to have you subscribed right here. Also, follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JD Piquel to stay up with everything that we're doing here. Appreciate you for that. So one thing we have to talk about with Nebraska is, why is it working? Matt Rhule's been on campus for all of, it feels like 36 minutes. Hasn't been the head coach of Nebraska for anything more than the spring game. Why is it working? There's two pieces of this. The first part of this is what we just spoke about, his track record of success, both on the field and developing talent. I was able to be a part of Matt Rhule's program at Baylor for a cup of coffee, essentially. And I'll say this, with Matt Rhule, he is working with all of those players to prepare them to play in the NFL. Like, if you're the starting running back, there's a really good chance you're going to run down on kickoff. Why? Because in the NFL, if you get to an NFL camp and it's your first time lining up at special teams and you don't know what you're doing, it's probably going to hurt your chances of making the roster. So the mind for development is attractive to kids, and seeing what he's done with getting players into the NFL is attractive to kids. And like I was saying before that, the track record of success from a wins and loss perspective. He's won everywhere he's been at the collegiate level. He's taken rebuilds and got these teams to conference championship level. Like, that's the kind of process Matt Rhule has in place. And so, yes, he hasn't really done it in Nebraska just yet, but you see what he's done previously, and you have some good faith that, okay, this process he has, his way of doing things, that works, both for me personally as a player and for us as a team. So that's attractive. The second part of this is Matt Rhule and his messaging is just very, very authentic. And so much of recruiting, so much of what you're hearing on the recruiting trail as a kid who's getting recruited is a lot of promises and a lot of telling you what's going to happen and what you're going to be. And sometimes that feels a little bit fantastical. And when you sit down with a guy like Matt Rhule and have him shoot you straight and have him just be real with you, that stands out. And I'll tell you this, recruits, they can spot fake from a mile away. And that is an enormous turnoff for a kid if he's trying to pick where he's going to go for the next 4 to 5, sometimes 3 years of his life. Like, there's a lot riding on this college decision. So you want to go with someone that you know is going to be real with you, going to be honest with you, and is going to develop you. And so that's standing out for Matt Rhule, and that's why they're able to be so successful right now on the recruiting trail. So what does it mean? Like, when can we expect results for Nebraska with this success they're having on the recruiting trail? And we talked about it in our live show, but you're going to see some marginal improvement, I believe, right away. Like, some of these kids, they'll come in, they'll play as freshmen, so I guess that's year 2 for Matt Rhule. Like, you're going to see some success early. But the real change for Nebraska is when the talent level, the classes get stacked, the development level gets stacked with those classes, and the culture parallels that. So when the culture peaks and the talent and development and personnel peaks and those meet together, that's when Nebraska is going to be really, really dangerous and start talking about having the chance to compete for Big Ten titles. Now, it's going to be more difficult. You know, you got USC and UCLA joining the deal. Penn State's going to be impactful for a long time. Ohio State, Michigan, you know what you're getting with them. But I would not count out Matt Rhule. If history is our teacher, it's typically right around a 3-year rebuild. But with the portal, with the way we've seen Nebraska use it already, with what I know about Matt Rhule, having been around him for a short period of time, I think they can do it a little bit more quickly. I think 2 years is a realistic expectation for this to be, okay, this is Matt Rhule's team. Then we can say, okay, his fingerprints, his thumbprint is all over this team, and we understand this is Matt Rhule's Nebraska. So be excited, Cornhusker fans. There is some exciting things on the horizon for your team, not just in the recruiting trail, but when it comes to Saturday afternoons in the fall. Make sure you're subscribed right here. We talk ball every day. We're glad to have you a part of this. You're a junkie for this sport. We are too. Cut from the same cloth. Glad to have you here. Again, follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at JDPakel. Great way for us to keep up and interact and let y'all know what we got going with the show. We're going to keep this party rolling now, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.